Hello, BookTube. This is a bookshelf tour. Bookcase 17, Shelf 5, Part 2, and it is the final shelf and the final part of that shelf. So this will end the bookshelf tours on this channel. Hopefully someday I buy more bookshelves and we can add some books and go from there. But for now, this is it. Obviously, I'll do like some of the vinyl records still, and got some pretty interesting magazine collections, and we'll do book hauls and all that, and book chats. But the mainstay of this station, or this channel, excuse me, since we started, has been the bookshelf tours, because it seemed to me the logical place to start for a bibliophile, book collector, and a reader is what do you have on your shelf? And when you go to somebody's house, you look at their bookshelves and wander bookstores looking at the shelves. So that's what we've done here, but this will be it. So I'm going to start with some volumes here. This is Garth Nix, Clariel. This came out in from Harper, and it's The Lost Aberson. It's Garth Nix, and this is the first edition of 2014. I basically bought this hoping that one of my kids might get into it, and plus I wanted to read a Garth Nix. So I have not read this. So if anybody has, you can let me know down below if it's worth my time. But I got it for a song, so. Then these, another couple volumes here would be considered YA. And this is Brian Jacques. I have here Marielle of Redwall. And, let's pop the cover off here. These Redwall books I love. This is Philomel Books, New York. I've read them out of order. This is 1991. It's a fourth American edition. And I really, really enjoy these. I thought he was an interesting writer. And I have another one. Basically, I would pick them up used wherever I could and just read them. I've read a few of the paperbacks also. This is Salamander Stone. Illustrations by Gary Chalk, Brian Jacques again. Philomel Books, New York. And this is 92. And this looks like it's the second edition. So again, you have, look at that cover. So those I really, really enjoyed. So now we're down to a single author, and that is Stephen King. He gets mixed reviews, I think, from folks. I have a special reason I read him. I lived as in my early teen years and in Bangor, Maine. And that was right when Stephen King was starting to become noticed. And his house, if you looked from where I lived, you could look up at the end of the street. We lived on the corner of a cross street, and you look up to the right, and if you're in our front yard, just look up, and there was his house, and the same house he's in now. It wasn't red then, and it didn't quite have the famous Gothic wrought iron fence that it has now, but we saw all that put in and stuff. And I was a paper boy, and I delivered on West Broadway and to that house. So when he became famous, the first book was obviously Carrie. It was not my kind of thing. But Salem's Lot was. And my parents had gone somewhere for the evening, and I sat alone in an autumn evening in an old New England house with the wind blowing and the trees scratching the side of the house reading Salem's Lot. Not a good idea. But I finished it. So I don't have that copy now. I wish I did. But here are the first three. Here are three complete novels in one of those omnibus editions with actually a pretty good cover. This is Stephen King's Carrie, Salem's Lot, and The Shining. I did not like Carrie, but I did like Salem's Lot. Oh, it's my favorite Stephen King volume. And I did like The Shining. So Carrie was 74, which would be right about exactly right. And then Salem's Lot 75, and then Shining 77. So, yep, this was, it's better to have in one big copy like this. I'm sure, who knows what happened to my old copies. I'm not going to do these in any order. This is Stephen King, Under the Dome. He must get paid by the pound here. Scribner, New York. And this is, let's see, 2009. First hardcover in November of 2009. And it's actually the fourth printing, though. So, not that I'm collecting Stephen King for anything. Here's Misery. And this Viking. So this came out in 1987. And it looks like this one is a first edition. So, Misery. Look at that cover. I don't know if you see the shadow of the axe. The lighting up here is just horrendous. Then I have Needful Things, The Last Castle Rock Story. There's the title page. It's like a woodblock print. 1991, and this is a first edition, first printing. Let's see if we got a picture of him there. And then we have the Tommyknockers. There he is. This is G.P. Putnam Sons, New York. And this is 1987, and again, it's a first edition. Getting slightly yellowed there, I think. We also have here Stephen King, Just After Sunset, which is a collection of stories. Scribner's, 2008. Again, it's a first edition, first printing. So, looking a little more dapper there. Then I've got Blockade Billy. Contains this chilling bonus story, Morality, by Stephen King. And King's a big-time Red Sox fan. And this one is another Scribner's, and it's 2010. This is a first edition, first printing. And finally, seems appropriate to end up my shelf tours this way. I think I've only got one or two hard case crime novels to my name. I love seeing them on the Paperback Junkies channel. This is Joyland, the new novel from Stephen King, hard case crime. I have not read this one. It's let's see. This was copyright 2013. Hardcover editions, Titan Books. So I can't really tell you much about this one. I wanted to start getting into the hard case crime. This is the first one I came across, so we'll give it a read. So that was Bookcase 17, Shelf 5, Part 2. It's the final bookcase tour, and thank you.